Shaki Verado, episode number 13, Sideline Chatter, Addressing the Pressure to Succeed. Let's just take it one season at a time. You're listening to Sideline Radio, a podcast by Sideline Society, where we firmly believe it takes a village to raise a child and a sideline to support an athlete. In a lifestyle where schedules are hectic, to-do lists are overwhelming, and it's always time to go, sports mom of three and sideline guru Shaki Verado will help you navigate your life on the sidelines and redefine what organized chaos should look like. Here's your weekly ticket to take a time out, huddle up, and hear real talk from others who get it, while learning the best tips, hacks, and strategies to help you navigate your life on the sideline one season at a time. If you're ready to tackle your crazy schedule and make memories instead of migraines, you're in the right place. Here's your host, Chief Sideline Hacker, Target Enthusiast, and French fry lover, Shaki Verado. Hey, Sideline Hackers, Shaki here. Yep, the same Shaki that rhymes with hockey, and it's short for Shakira like the singer, except I'm back with another episode of Sideline Chatter as a little food for thought. If you've been following along, one, thank you very much. I appreciate your support. And two, you're probably already aware of these Sideline Chatter episodes that are created with you in mind. They are to spark a conversation on your sidelines that deal with those real-life issues that we all tend to face at one point or another. That's why I am so excited to share my sideline and open up this dialogue today with Valeri Garcia, a soccer mom and softball coach from Sacramento, California, who offered some awesome insight in the topic of dealing with the pressure to succeed. This was offered in our Sideline Hackers Facebook community. Valeri touched on the subject both as a sports mom and as a softball coach, so I am super excited to jump in. But before we dive in, I want to share my little favorite tidbit just to pass along. You know what? I know what it's like. Rushing from point A to point B to get to practice, games, and training on time. Trying to figure out other options to help fuel your athlete that doesn't come with a toy. You sometimes feel a bit overwhelmed and discouraged, like you have to go at it all alone. But you know your child loves to play, and you want to make sure you can be there to support them in the best way possible. You probably throw together whatever is in arm's reach just before you run out the door to make sure you don't miss warm-ups. Trust me, I get it. That's why I wanted to put together an easy step-by-step tutorial to living life as a sports mom and building the ultimate sports mom survival bag. Call me obsessed, but I set out to make a show and build a community around this amazing lifestyle that we live. And I know that this one resource will be a game changer for helping you shake off the stress and living, loving, and rocking your life on the sideline one season at a time. So this show is brought to you by our totally free guide, the Ultimate Sports Mom Survival Guide and Survival Bag Checklist. You can get your hands on it at sidelinesociety.com. That's right, a guide that will get you started, help you to understand your role as a sports mom, and teach you to know how to be prepared for your life on the sideline, one season at a time. My biggest sideline regret? Showing up and not being prepared. So this episode is dedicated to not letting you make the same mistakes I did. Head on over to sidelinesociety.com and get prepped for sideline success. Now, what do you say? You guys ready to jump into today's episode? Let's do it.
So my intention in my life was to be a coach. And so I wanted to coach college, and I did for a couple of years, but decided that I wanted to try a different path after coaching. And so I went into college advising for athletes, which eventually turned into what I'm doing now, which is working with foster youth in college, which is amazing. So I felt like wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I'm a coach. So even parenting, sometimes I feel like I'm coaching them through, not necessarily telling them what to do or anything. I want to help them coach through their issues and in their challenges. And so my passion is youth sports and development, and focusing on the little things that they can win, as well as their character. So, but at the same time, we're in this very competitive world, and kids at a very young age, younger and younger and younger, are getting into competitive sports rather than just playing sports. They're getting into competitive sports for a purpose, which is typically going to college. And so, it's sometimes hard as a parent to navigate some of that, to see if that's really what they want, or if they're saying that because that's what they hear. I'm a soccer mom half the year, so I sit and take them to where their practices, their games are, and I watch the games. And then the other half, I am a mom coach. So that's why I usually call myself as a mom coach, because I am, working. I'm a coach and for their teams. And so the pressure is sometimes that we get is really just kind of narrowing down, just more so navigating the feel of where they are and where they want to go. But I've been coaching for a little while now, long while now, since I left my own college softball experience at San Jose State. I started coaching, and then I took some time off, but helped with other teams, but came back more so when my daughters started getting to the age, and I've been coaching since. And but I feel like I'm a coach wherever I'm going, wherever place I am, with students, with kids, with my own children. I feel like I'm trying to coach them through life, really.
Right. And this topic was one that we brought up in the group, in the Sideline Hackers group. And I just really resonated with your comment. You mentioned how, you do coach them, coach for softball as well. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Wow. So you're doing soccer and softball.
Yeah. I'm not coaching soccer. I'm the soccer mom. So that's me doing what they need, where they need to go. I'm this Uber most of the time. But for softball, I coach.
Right. Okay. Well, even still, the fact that what you wrote there, you wrote, I'm there to support. And because it means that there is an end goal that is beyond them just wanting just to play. And I agreed with that, and that kind of goes back to exactly what you just said here. Most of them are playing for another reason. It's no longer just to play to have fun, even though it should be fun, but, it is to play to maybe get a college scholarship or, and I don't know. I wonder how other people think of that. Do you think that is, that's where we're heading. Obviously, this is where so many players are saying, well, I want to use my skills to get into college. I want to go beyond college, play professionally, maybe overseas. How do you see that? I know you're hearing that, right?
Oh, all the time.
Right?
Yeah.
And do you have these conversations with other parents? I'm curious to know if they agree with that, or if they're just saying, oh, we just want to keep them busy, or, so that also goes into that pressure to, one, support them in their role, whatever they're doing, whatever sport they're playing. But two, do you feel that pressure to make sure that they are accomplishing those goals, Yeah,
so I'm hearing it everywhere. Just this weekend we were talking about the girls, we had a bunch of time in between our games. And so I sat with some of the parents and we were talking, and it was, oh yeah, my daughter is interested. And these are 11 and 12-year-old girls. Okay.
Wow.
These are girls that most of them, this is their first year of competitive softball. I'm already hearing, yeah, my daughter's interested in going to this college, which she'll probably have to get a college scholarship in order to go there, because it's expensive and this and that. And I hear the reason why these girls, not just on my team, but the girls playing softball in general or soccer, want to compete is so that they can go to college. And so one of the things I always say to the parents, I say to the athletes, I said, I've been in higher education for about 20 years now, not just as my job or the work I had to do, but also as a coach as well as a student. I walk around every day, thousands of students on that campus, not one of them I look at. Well, I would say every once in a while I'll come across a softball player. But everybody else, 99.9% of those students on campus went without playing softball. And so it's not to say that you want to go. I said, so is it you want to go to college? Because you can without softball. You can without any sport or any extracurricular activity.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's college, that's one thing. That's one thing. But getting to play college softball is really, realistically, you have to be the top 5 to 7% in the game to play college softball.
Right.
And so if you're looking at that a little bit differently, if you're looking at the reason why you're trying to play college or wanting to play softball or any other sport, is it to, we changing the narrative may change the goal path or the goals.
That's true.
So getting to college, you can do that without sports. Is it getting to be the top 5% in your sport? Then the goals change. Then you have to create different, then you have to really talk about your effort. Then you have to talk about the work that you need to do. Then you need to talk about the resources you need to have. Because that's different than I want to go to college. And so the narrative, if depending on that narrative, the goals change. And so in talking with some of the athletes in the organization that I'm coaching, which is Game Day, softball and baseball, I actually did a goal setting session with the athletes on all the softball teams. And we talked about that. We talked about, the goal isn't college. The goal is to be top 5% if that's really what you want. But is top 5% realistic? And some of them said, maybe, maybe not. And I said, you won't know until as you get closer, to that. And I said, but it's really going to take a path to get there. And so, I think through that, I think some of the athletes start to understand that their effort becomes their own. It has to be on them. Exactly. So, I went to college. I'm expecting my girls to play college softball or soccer, if that's what they prefer. But if they want to, if they're saying that, it has to be led by the athletes themselves. And so, I think in changing that narrative to, I want to be the top 5%, then what does the top 5% look like? And then displaying those habits and character and those behaviors, that I think possibly changes their perspective of what they're willing to do.
Right. And I think that's exactly right. I think, it's so easy to say, even my boys, so easy to say, yes, I'm going to go play football. I'm going to play in the NFL. And that's wonderful. But do you understand the work that goes with that? Right. Do you understand how that really looks? If you don't like practicing 2 times a day now, you're not going to like it then if you don't change your mindset, So, going back to that, it seems like there is a lot of pressure on the athlete, and there's a lot of pressure, of course, on the parents as well. Someone else in the group had mentioned, pressure on my pockets because, yes, sports are expensive, especially competitive sports. And if you're ready to have that conversation and you're ready to take that on, then that's great. But just be completely knowledgeable about what it's going to take, right? You need to know exactly how that looks.
Yes. And to be honest, there's more competitive sports. There's so many teams out there for all these sports that even it's no longer like it used to be. The top 30% of athletes used to go play competitive. Now we're seeing the top, whoever can pay for it kind of thing to play competitive sports. So it's not to say that it's completely watered down. I think there is a definitely difference between competitive and rec level. But it's, when you have these athletes that want to play, with parents, hey, as long as they're willing to put money, they can find a team. Regardless of their athlete's skill set or level of experience. And so knowing that ahead of time, like, okay, for me, I know I have girls that are still a bigger work in progress than some of the other girls. And so, as long as they're willing to put in the work, we can work things out. But having an understanding that I don't have to have them play a certain amount of innings. if they don't want, if I don't need them to, or I don't need, or they're not in that lineup. I don't have to play them. Whereas rec, you have a certain amount of level of commitment. You put the girls in and how many innings they need to play and all that. And so parents understanding that money is a huge commitment, and what do you want your child to get out of it is one thing. But more so, what does your child want to get out of it is more important. Is that, are you going to be willing to put that commitment in? Are they okay with sitting, more than half the time? Are they okay? Are they okay with traveling, just multiple states? My oldest daughter this is going to be her first time. She's 14. She's going to be 15 in July. This is the first time she's going to be on a team that travels different states. A lot of people, you might say that we got a late start, but when is an early start? What, 10 and under? So I think understanding the goals and understanding, if you're putting your money into it, what are you willing? What do you want to get out of it? And not just outcome, but what's the takeaway at the end of the season? What did they learn? Or was it something that the athletes wanted themselves, or is it the coach or the parents feeling like there's what's that saying? They don't want to be left behind.
Almost fear of missing out.
Yes, fear of missing out.
FOMO.
Yes, FOMO. So, is it really FOMO? Because I get that all the time, thinking, oh, how come your girls aren't going year round? Because they also like soccer,
right?
And I don't want to take that away from them. I said, you don't have to. I said, we can stick with rec, and you guys, we'll be done by this day, and we don't have to practice that much. And they said no, they really wanted to play. So I said, okay, so this is your choice, and I just wanted to make sure that they had their own choice in it, and it didn't feel like a contract or a business plan. It was more because they want to. And same thing with my oldest daughter, and when we split with my other team that I had before, it was because she wanted something different and something more, and compete with older kids. So I said, okay. So she's playing in 18 under this summer as a 14 turning 15-year-old. And so I asked her if she's okay with that. And she's like, yeah. I said, okay, we could play 14 under still. She's like, no, this is what you wanted. I said, okay. So I gave them a say, but I also gave them my own boundaries that I was willing to do as a parent. And so that was, so that's been something that, again, like you were saying, it has to be a family decision. And I definitely don't base my decisions based on what everyone else is doing, because that their family, like you were saying, values are gonna be different than mine. My value, my biggest priority is that you don't go year round until 13, 14, then you can choose if you want. But so far, my oldest daughter absolutely does not want to go year round. She loves playing multiple sports. So far it looks like my twins does too. So that's a value for me that I want them to have, is there's no contract to play one sport.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it also reminds me anyway of the family values, the values that we have as a family. Do we enjoy spending time together? Do we want to go year round, or do we want to be able to have a summer vacation or whatever it is, because again, if you make that commitment, and that's not to say it's a lifelong commitment, because you can obviously change it, at the end of each season, or however you choose to do that. But it is something that I think the family should make together. It shouldn't just be the parent saying, okay, you're going to do this and I don't care what you think. Or it should just be the athlete, it shouldn't just be the athlete saying, I want to do this and I don't really care to spend time with you guys. I mean, it really needs to be like just everyone sit down and hash it out. And then, if we're all on the same page, then great. And if we're not, then we need to take a little bit more time. But definitely, we have plenty of time, and time does go by fast. But when you think about it and what's really important, then I think it would start to become more clear.
Yeah.
I think this was a great conversation. Thank you so much, Valerie, for coming on with me and giving me that perspective and giving our listeners that perspective, because I think it's something that we just need to talk about more. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. This is one of our sideline chatters, just something to chat about and start getting the mind percolating on when it comes to our athletes and their sports.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, Sideline Hackers. I really loved chatting with Valerie today. Thank you again, Valerie. I had so many takeaways from this convo, but I think the biggest one is the idea of creating and sustaining those ever so important boundaries in our sports lives with our athletes. Keyword being with. I was just really encouraged by how Valerie said she gives her athletes a say. I think so many of us can relate to that sentiment, and I'm happy that that is the case. I think they should be involved in these types of decisions. I mean, they are the ones putting in the work on the team, right? On the field, on the court. Well, Sideline Hackers, it's about that time. I'd love it if you came and joined us in our interactive community for sports moms and teen moms. It's called Sideline Hackers, and we're over in Facebook in a private Facebook group. And you can join the group by going to Facebook, searching Sideline Hackers, and clicking to request to join. And don't worry, I have quick thumbs, so you'll be in no time. You guys, if you're not joining us in our Facebook community, you're basically just missing out. It's a ton of fun, just safe place to share the show with other listeners, join in on exclusive giveaways and challenges, and to just be you as a busy sports mom who loves watching her kids play. Lastly, if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook at Sideline Society, and on Twitter at Shaki Verado. I'm sad to go, but before I peace out, I'm feeling the need to let you know how much of a joy that I feel to present Sideline Radio and bring it to your sideline lives every week. It means so much to me to be able to have conversations like this about our lives on the sideline, and I just want to say that you all are amazing. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your continued encouragement, and thank you for letting me have these types of conversations every single week while showing up in your earbuds. If you've been touched by Sideline Radio and you're excited about the convos that we're having, would you take 3 seconds and hop over to iTunes and leave a review? It will seriously make a huge difference in what we're able to do here. And here's to wishing you much love, peace, and sideline success. I'm signing off. And always remember, it takes a village to raise a child and a sideline to support an athlete. Thanks for listening to Sideline Radio. Dive into the show notes for this episode and all past episodes at sidelinesociety.com/Sideline Radio. If you love the show, share it with the sports mom. Remember, it takes a village to raise a child and a sideline to support an athlete.